Hey, legends, and welcome to episode 2 of Harder to Kill with Michael Stuart and myself, Matt Moore, where every week we're going to pick an aspect of your body and physiology and teach you about it and hopefully give you some lessons that you can take away and become harder to kill. And last week we started episode 1 with bulletproofing your run, and we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole talking about the breath. And Mick said to me, Matt, I think this should be its own episode. So here we are back week 2. And we're talking all about breath. Mick, how are you, man?
Good. Yourself, mate? How's things?
Fantastic, buddy. I've been out hitting a hike today with a couple of clients out in the Gold Coast hinterlands, and yeah, a bit of savage elevation. So that was fun. What about yourself? What did you get up to this morning?
Nothing much. Did a 500 cals on the assault bike with nasal breathing, trying to keep above a 300 to 350 watt the whole time. It was fun.
Good. That's fun. Don't know if everyone would agree with you there, man. But that's why I love you, man, because you're a little bit crazy. You're a little bit crazy. And it's a good thing. If you are watching, guys, let us know you're live with a hashtag live. Let us know you are watching a replay later with a hashtag replay as well. And if you do want to comment and engage with us, this is an open forum, guys. So if you do want to ask us questions as we go, we will get to all the questions. But what I need you to do is just click on this link that I've put in the comments, and it's also in the description to the video. And if you click on that, you quickly log in to be live, and that means we can bring your pretty picture on screen, just like Tashi's there. And we've got a couple of people online, so don't be a creeper. Don't watch through the bushes. Let us know you're here. So, Mick, you're going to be the teacher again this week because this is certainly an area that you know much more about than I do. You and I ran the Bright Ultra last year, and you sort of obviously we were talking shit on the ultra course for about 6 hours, and we had a bit of time to talk about some different modalities of training and different things, and you're right into this breath stuff, and that was about where after we had this talk for a long time, and you taught me some things, that was where I started to go down this rabbit hole of breath, and it's changed a lot of things and a lot of the ways that I see fitness, and has certainly improved my performance. So, man, how did you go down this breath rabbit hole?
Well, it's funny. See, I grew up being a very heavily asthmatic person. I mean, I've had it all from the different colored steroids and Ventolins to one point I remember I had to do a whole week where I was doing daily sit-downs with the machine on, and I got to pretend like I was Darth Vader for a while and stuff. So I sucked at breathing. Yeah. And as I started getting more into this Spartan, gladiator, warrior sort of ethos of thinking about how we grew up in a time where we didn't have so much technology to save us, I was like, I need to improve. And first thing I had to improve on was my breathing, because let's face it, we all need to breathe, and I already sucked at doing the thing that's supposed to keep me alive. But I didn't like the idea of because everyone was saying, oh, if people swim, their breathing becomes better, especially with athletics. And so I started looking into that, and the reason that what I started discovering with the whole, because you're doing breath holds and you're actively using your body, you're getting actually more CO2, carbon dioxide tolerant. And through that, it started making me realize, oh, well, if you can do it that way, is there other ways to adapt this protocol into general? And then through that, I grew into the Wim Hof stuff. I fell into some Brian McKenzie and them started bringing their stuff out, and they're out of breath. I jumped in on all that. And it just seemed the more I looked into breath, the more I found I did not know enough. And it just kept growing and growing, and I'm still reading on it, and I'm still loving every moment of it, and it's still impacting how I change my training every day. Yeah. And that's what it's just been my one fun ride. That still doesn't look like it's got anywhere to end yet.
Yeah, cool, man, cool. And dude, there's heaps of people jumping on live. We've got Sharon, Funzi. We've got a couple of Facebook users who haven't logged in. So in the description of the video, guys, there's that link, fact.bilive.tv/comments-issue. Click on that. You can very quickly log in to be live. I think it's just a one-button click. and then we can bring your comments on screen. Otherwise, it just looks like you don't have a display picture and you are creeping. Edith's here. Edith was just on the hike with me.
Nice.
Jim's here as well. Hello, Bull. Dominic probably cramping on the lounge. She was on a hike with me as well. And Matty Probes is here as well. Yep. What's the word for it, man? For people who are into increasing their breath, there's a word. I'm trying to think of what it is. Aquanaut or something like that.
I have no idea.
Cool.
I mean, I've never tried to label myself in any of that stuff. In me, it's just another part of being a human. We all get into, weights for our muscles, nutrition for our performance, but no one's focusing enough on the thing that actually, the first thing you do when you're born is you breathe. The last thing you do before you die will be your breath, but we don't look at breathing. So I don't know what to call it, but to me, it's just studying the human body.
Yeah. And it's something that I just finished reading Breath, the New Science of Lost Art by James Nestor, which is a book that came out this year. And that was absolutely fantastic and really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And all the ancient cultures around the world really focused on breath and nasal breathing and breathing in a correct way. And it seems like in the last 500 years, we've forgotten how to do it. And everyone breathes like shit now.
Yeah. Well, a good example of ancient stuff is like Indians, when the first settlers started coming over, they referred to the white person as black mouth, and people thought this was because the white person could lie, but it was actually because they did all their breathing through their mouth, which opened it up to way more diseases. And so the breathing of natural nasal breathing is like, all this breathing stuff is nothing new. It's like the book said, tapping into the lost art.
Yeah, we forgot. I've got another one here that I've been meaning to read, The Oxygen Advantage.
That's a good one.
I haven't cracked it just yet. It's on my to-do list. I've got to get back. It's a nice day today, actually. I think I might lay in the hammock out the back there and crack it after this. But yeah, it seems like the more I sort of go down this rabbit hole, the more I look into it and actually apply the things that I learned, the better my life goes, the better my stress is, the better my recovery is. So I'm really interested to see the little crash course you've got for us today. Jim Bullard says he's here, but he doesn't want to be seen. It's too late. It's too late, Bull. That ship sailed. So where did you want to start today, Mick?
Well, stress is a good way to start. I got a little bit. We'll go into a bit of the anatomy of why it's stress, because everyone seems to relate the breathing to stress, and as there's always exercises that are simple to do, and that's always the best place to start. Because when you manage your stress, you can then manage your output and your perceived exertion and how much trouble you're in. And a lot of people, especially now with all the situations, the lockdowns and not uncertainty, stress is the biggest focus with people. So I say we can start with some stress, and then let's work on why. Because people, if you tell people they breathe, people get told, breathe. Okay, yeah, but no one really knows why we're not stressed out after we breathe.
Yeah.
And so I thought I might show the anatomy of that first.
Cool. I'll bring that on screen, but first, Matty Probe says you're looking like Aquaman today.
Mate,
you get that a bit, don't you?
Yep.
The Jason Momoa thing.
Oh yeah.
He also asked, can proper breathing actually make you run longer distances? Yeah. Fuck yeah, it can.
And I'll explain. We can talk about that a bit as well.
Same way we were talking about last week. When we ran the really fast calculations for running. And, you were saying if you're running 160 steps per minute and it takes you 30 minutes to do a 5K, you're going to take like 4,800 steps in that 5 kilometers. So if you can improve your technique a tiny bit, if you can get 1%, 2% better out of your technique, if you improve the quality of each rep, you're going to see improvements. And the breath's going to be exactly the same, right? If you can improve the way your oxygen's getting in, if you could just make small tweaks to your oxygen, that could have dramatic changes to your endurance performance. So,
well, that'll come down. Yeah, the way you breathe can actually attack the energy you're using, which then will allow you to sort of do the higher and lower.
But, I'm just going to shuffle these around. So, just give me a sec.
Do the magic.
1 second. Let's go like that.
Beauty.
I like this.
Right, yeah. This is Larry. I like Larry. Now, so
Larry.
basically what I want to talk about is everyone knows about breathing, the respiratory system sort of stuff, but no one really understands why nasal breathing is so powerful. And that's why I got this up for you guys. I want to actually show you why it's so powerful. And that it all starts with right up here. Let's
get up inside Larry's
nose. Yeah. So this is basically your skeletal structure of your head with a few translucent spots. Now, when we activate, so this is the respiratory system. As I said, so if you go down, you can, there's the lungs and all that stuff, all that stuff, but I really want to focus around here. So, as again, I'm not going to go through those big, massive names because they're a pain, but right here, this is one of the biggest spots, reason why when you nasal breathe, you de-stress. Because see, right here, these are two sinus cavities actually, so when they're filling up, they are literally having that they've got a contact with your frontal lobe. This is the frontal lobe of your brain. So your brain is back here somewhere, and that, after a few fall down the hill a couple of times, we might be a little further back in the cavity, you know, but otherwise, yeah, so your brain's right there, and these right here, that's why you feel right here, is pressing on them when you breathe. Now, the other beauty part about it is, what also goes through them is all these. These are all nerves. These are nerves directed to your central. These are part of your central nervous system. So these things are dialed straight in. And that. So as you can see, if we zoom into these bad boys, you can see these things are actually really passing through them. They're going right around it. They're getting tickled by all that area, especially in just behind the eye socket just here. So when you are actually breathing through your nose here and actually focusing on deep stimulation, you start tickling all the sinus cavities which are behind the skull here and all these up here as well. That is what causes us to relax. That is what gives us our best. And you can literally try it right now. When you focus on breathing, everyone focuses on, I've got to do the diaphragm, or I've got to do my chest. But if you actually focus on just trying to breathe right in, well, if you're into Eastern philosophies and stuff like that, and chakras, where your third eye is, which is located right about here, if you really try and feel that, you can actually feel like you're tickling your central nervous system. So yeah, if you give yourself, so let's give a couple of deep breaths, just go focusing right here, you can actually feel like there is a slight bit of tickle. There is something going on there.
Yeah.
But after you do it, and you feel like you literally actually feel like quite relaxed. That's how nasal breathing really impacts when it comes to de-stressing. Because this shiny bit right back here that you can now see, that's the brain's sort of stuff. In there, you've got all your different layers, which have different functions, from motor cortex through to chemical imbalances and stuff like that. And I don't want to go too deep into that because then that's a rabbit hole that will probably go really. But basically,
I've just brought another picture. Sorry, man. I've just brought another picture up because one thing that was sort of interesting for me to learn, and we can sort of see it here with this 3D diagram, but I think like a 2D diagram might work really well as well, is when you breathe in your mouth, you've just got sort of the pipe that goes back and down, right? But your nasal cavity is like a huge cavity that we don't realize how much of it is there. And I've just put it on screen there, Mick.
Yeah, there we go.
So you can sort of see that mouth there, the nasal cavity is huge, takes up half your head.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on there. And it's something that you can sort of half see on this 3D image, but just the scope of it, like how much is in there if we're not breathing in that nose at all. Like we
absolutely.
don't evolve for no reason.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As you can see on that diagram, you can see the frontal sinus. That's what we're talking about. That's the thing that actually gets tickled. That's what gives us our relief and all that. Yeah, and that's per example.
Yeah, and we don't evolve. We evolve to. I guess we don't evolve for no reason. There's all of that shit's in there for a reason. We've just stopped using it.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I just wanted to bring that pic up.
No, that's good. That's good. That's exactly what it is. It's really good. Because, yeah, you can see it sort of more of like there.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
There you go. So there's that stuff. Like, so here's your brain and all this sort of stuff, and you can see all the wiring right in here going in and out of your nasal cavity.
Yeah, wow. So there's plenty going on in there.
Bloody disgusting, but yes. But yeah, so you've got all these sort of stuff. Your nasal cavities, and again, these are all different sizes. And see right in here, see how you've actually got at the very tip, we've actually got nerves hanging in. So actually, those are your mucous membranes that are actually attached around them. They get literally stimulated as you breathe in. Okay,
yeah, cool.
So it's literally like the difference between someone trying to tickle you on the armpit or someone trying to tickle you on your foot. Because the feet have so many more nerve endings, we're more sensitive and more reactive. But so much anywhere else is not as much. And that's the same with your breathing. Your mouth has no real stimulation. We have taste and stuff like that in there as our senses. But because of, they can actually be dulled depending on hot and temperature and stuff like that. Whereas these things are going every time.
Yeah.
Really looks like something out of Aliens though too.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's plenty going on in there. So what are the what's the functions of all of that? Why is all that shit in there?
Why is it easy? Because basically we have a system of, when you look at the passageway, as you saw with the other one, when you brought up you have your mouth and your nose. Ideally, you still need to be able to breathe, but with the mouth, because we consume food, we can run into the issue of clogging the hole, basically not getting through. You still need that ability to breathe the nasal. The nasal cavity is like your air purifier. It's your first defense. So let's take it. Everyone is wearing masks now. And I even had to laugh because I just took my mother to the dentist to get a lot of work done in the mouth, and they said, oh, you've got to wear a mask so you don't let anything get through your mouth when you're breathing. And her answer was, but I nasal breathe. Do I need it? They were shocked. And that's what I mean. Those masks you're wearing to protect your face, filter out the air, and make sure you're not passing anything or receiving anything, mainly happens is a process because people are too busy breathing through their mouth, which has no defense. Okay? It's whereas when you breathe through your nose, you've got multiple levels of defense. You've got your nasal, you've got basically the mucous membrane, the filaments, and all that sort of stuff in there. All have different things. You've got the hairs in there that are basically pulling out a lot of the bigger particles out of it. So if you're going through a dust, it's clearing that point. Then the finer particles are then getting caught up on the walls. And that's why we end up having a blowout nose, because that's us finally reaching our load and need to clear out all that crap.
Yeah.
By the time, and then you've also got the fact that the whole, as you saw on that photo before, the passageway. So, so basically, your mouth goes like this. Your mouth passageway.
Yeah.
Because your nose goes all the way out here, then comes in to join the party.
Yeah.
Before we start going down into the lungs area.
Yeah.
So for asthmatics, this is a good thing. This is where you see people when it's cold, people with asthma suddenly go, oh, it's cold, I'm flaring up. Yeah. Because you've got cold air going straight in and hitting the lungs, which is causing that cold shock. Just like when you have a cold shower and you tense up all of a sudden, you hop in cold water.
Yeah.
And that, like a lot of you, as you guys found when you have to jump in that water at Oberon.
I remember that water. It was fucking cold. It was actually colder out of the water, but it was cold.
Oh, it was cold. But yeah, when
I jumped in a river today up at the hike I went on, and it was fresh. It was nice.
It's Queensland. It's not that fresh. It's not that fresh.
It was fresh for me, man.
But so when you breathe through your mouth, it's sort of like you just directly go into the source, so there's no time to change it. It's like getting your coffee and hitting the lung black straight off the bat as soon as they've done it. It's a scorcher. When you breathe through your nose, because it's got so much more time in the body, it matches your body temperature.
So it heats
So
up
if
the air.
it's hot, you're going to start using your body to cool it down. That's why we sweat when it's really hot and we're trying to breathe. When it's freaking cold and you're breathing, that's why our body heats it up. So when it gets down to the lungs and all the part of the body that's not so protected as people think, it's now at room temperature. So it's great. That's why I'm able to do hot and colds and not have any real issue with weather-wise.
Yeah.
With my asthma. It's because this breathing actually helps filter and warm up the air to my body temperature rather than introducing something extremely hot or something extremely cold through my mouth.
Yeah.
So that's so those are the main functions of why we got the nasals, all the things they do up there.
And what's it doing for humidity?
Humidity, again, it's just basically, so with the humidity, all it's doing is really just matching the body, the environment, keeping the pH levels nicer, but it's also releasing different toxins as well.
Yep.
And that mainly pulls out water.
Yeah, so I saw a really interesting video. It was just yesterday, actually, on James Nestor's Instagram. And they were talking about when you breathe in and out your mouth, you lose a shitload of your fluid through your mouth, which is actually where you lose most of your fluid anyway, which is when you breathe. Most people think they lose it in sweat, but you actually lose most of your hydration through your breath. And they said by breathing in and out your nose, you're going to reduce that fluid loss by about 40%, which is huge for an athlete.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So that was just interesting.
That's all because it's all because of always basically the constant use of the mouth. It's because when you're using the mouth, you have to, it'll dry out, so you need to provide more saliva and everything to keep your mouth nice and wet and stuff like that. And that's where you'll lose a lot of it because of that. Yeah. Whereas nasal breathing doesn't need it as much so it keeps your mouth shut, which means the temperature, the environment in your mouth stays the same.
Yeah. The other thing that was really interesting in this video that I saw was that they were talking about, the question was, should I breathe in my nose and out my mouth, or in my nose, out my nose?
Yeah.
And they said, out your nose where you can, because all of that shit that you breathe in through your nose, all the bad stuff that gets caught in all the, all the different levels of firewall that you're talking about in your nose, when you breathe out your nose, you then expel all that shit. So it doesn't stay in the body. So that filter is cleaning and, filling itself up and cleaning itself as you're breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, and it's great that now people are looking into it. And that they are looking into just the different ways of processing. The other good thing about it is, it keeps you very well in a cool, calm state for stimulation rise.
Yep.
Whereas when you offload in the mouth, you're still in a more heightened state because it's trying to offload a lot more and it's thinking it needs to get rid of more than what it does. Yep. It's kind of like the difference between if you're going to pour a little bit of water on a flower or tip the whole glass. That's what you're doing with your body, and if you're doing a little bit, it seems like it's in a good state. Whereas if you're chugging it, needs to refuel quicker, sooner as well. Okay.
We just had a question from Jim Bullard. During last night's 2-mile log run in the rain, you're a lunatic, Paul. During my last night's 2-mile log run in the rain, I concentrated on nasal breathing for 45 minutes. I found myself breathing in and out for longer intervals as I warmed up into it. Short paces barefoot and started at 3 paces in, 3 paces out. Got to 7 in and 7 out, sustained by end of 2 miles. Only mouth breathed about 6 times total. Felt completely de-stressed by the end.
Yeah, well, that's actually a perfectly good thing. Because if you recall at Oberon too, I got you guys to do a lot of nasal breathing and strong nasal breathing, trying to build it. And that. All right. And that is because right here, under here. So this is your lungs and your lung cavity, and under here we got a nice little thing called a diaphragm, which isn't showing up in this thing. And beauty part about it is you can see how big your lungs are right now with this photo. You can also see there should be another bit, basically a diaphragm underneath here. When these muscles are activated through nasal breathing, the diaphragm actually pulls the lungs down more. Whereas when you're chest freezing, you'll only breathe about that much. So you stop halfway. and that. So you're only getting half the warmth. But when you go into a nasal breathing, because it's such a narrow passageway, you automatically breathe deeper because you need to activate it more. That's why when I see these breath mechanic things for your mouth, not the best way to improve lung capacity.
Yeah, I've got like a an altitude mask, and it's basically just creates resistance in the breath. So it doesn't do anything. Altitude doesn't change the oxygen. It just makes it harder to breathe. So you're strengthening that diaphragm, right?
They actually work on 2 levels in that. They make it harder to breathe, but because you've also got the mask on you, you've got more captured CO2 in there. So as you're breathing, you're really trying to process more oxygen out of there, which actually then gets a lot harder because there's more CO2 in your breath coming back in. But again, the thing people do with these is, and this is where it's stupid, is when you see them doing big CrossFit workouts and then mouth breathing and stuff like that, throwing a lot of weight into the best bang for your buck for those is literally sitting down breathing, going for a walk breathing, but focusing on nasal only. That will really increase the capacity. And again, because you're activating that diaphragm, you will heat up a lot easier, especially on colder days. And it's one of the reasons I'm able to sit out in the morning at -5 degrees with just a board shorts on and a coffee. And that is because nasal breathing really helps internally warm your body up. And that will actually also have works on it on a whole immune level and everything like that as well.
Yeah, you called it you called it lion's breath at the Hurricane Heat at Oberon. It's sort of a variation of Tumo. Am I right? Is it a Wim Hof style?
Yes, no, superventilation is what I call it. Other places call it, like there's lion's breath, fire breath, breath of fire, stuff like that. All it is really just a powerful, strong breath. And again, you're going to get several different names. It's like any other thing in the fitness industry. Everyone's got their own little interpretation of how they understand it.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a powerful breath. It's just the stronger you pull, the more muscles you're going to activate, the better it is going to help generate heat.
Yeah, cool. Got another couple of people commenting, and just log in the description to this video. There will be a link you can click on. That way we can bring your photo on screen, just like Matty Probes here, who said early spring is usually a crap time for me where I sneeze a lot. Is there any tips with breathing to reduce sinusitis? We'll definitely get into some stuff at the end. Yeah, some like breathing drills and stuff.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's talk about the energy flow, because this is where it's going to come in handy for the running side. So we can get rid of our little dude here for once.
Get rid of him?
Yeah, we
get rid of Larry.
He's good.
See you, Larry.
Yeah, Larry. Yeah, because like as Matty asked earlier about the whole, can it improve your longer running and stuff, longer endurance? This is where nasal breathing and stuff will, because when you're breathing, nasal breathing and proper breathing mechanics, like practicing your breath, is actually how your body creates energy. So you've got we all know we've got the original source, ATP and stuff like that, adrenal triphosphate if you want to get all geeky. That's only got a certain amount. We all know that's only got a certain lifespan, and then it's gone. Then you got, of course, creatine triphosphate, which basically comes into play either through oxidization of carbohydrates or oxidization of triglycerides or fats.
Yep.
But the key word there, oxidization. It all starts with some breathing.
Yep.
So you've got it, when you improve your breathing mechanics, it has like a feed-on effect. So instead of being like a mouth breather and constantly needing that energy for food, constantly thinking you need nutrition to keep yourself going, because your body's is burning just really quick, like basically what's coming in, going out, coming in, going out. There's no real deep source. It's only getting the surface stuff thrown through. When we go into nasal breathing, we actually start producing what's called nitric oxide. There's a higher level of nitric oxide in our blood. Now, this makes our oxidization, or basically the absorption of oxygen into the bloodstream, a lot better. It almost doubles it. And with that, that's how you increase your basically the fuel in your muscles, because all that goes down to the little cell which is called the mitochondria, and that's your battery for life, all the oxygen there. and the better oxidation we get through the nitrogen oxide to help increase that is going to give you a longer, higher output. As I said today, my little 500 meter, my 500 cal salt bike, my goal was you can go below 300 watts.
Yeah.
So 300 to 350. Couldn't go above, couldn't go below, nasal breathing the whole time. Now, that was fun for 35 minutes. I've done higher for about 20, but it's a good way how you can test your output and hold your output and focus on how the breathing can dictate that.
Yeah.
And it's also a good chance of knowing where you're at. So you don't always need to know what your heart rate is telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was out on this hike today, and we did about 800 meters of elevation across about 6Ks. So we just basically walked up a big fucking hill and then turned around and came back down. But a couple of times I'd sort of got into this panic breath where the heart rate was starting to peak and I could feel it. And a couple of times I looked at my watch and I just sort of slowed it down, big deep breaths with the nose, and you just watch your heart rate plummet. It's instantaneous.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And just regain control.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Especially that, and especially for those people that want to do zone training. You know, they like to focus on running certain hoppers. Especially if you do the simple running, less than your aerobic capacity, aerobic threshold, and keep it comfortable. You'll be surprised when you click over and suddenly go a little too high, how much that might indicate where your breathing's at rather than your performance is at.
Okay.
And there was a few times I did it when I was down at the coast. I just went for a nice little 5K. It was a beautiful track, had all different terrains. We're talking sand, gravel, mountains. I had a few cliff faces, terrain, asphalt. But at one point, I was feeling pretty good. And I had a couple mouth breathes. Next thing I looked at the thing, and I've gone over my aerobic threshold that I wanted. But as soon as I dialed back into that nasal, it's as you said, it flipped, dropped real easy. Yeah. And this is where the nasal breathing basically has been shown to decrease what you believe you're doing by 29%. So what you think sucks, by nasal breathing can be 29% less sucky.
Right. So it's actually going to change your perception of how comfortable the exercise.
Yeah.
Which I can certainly attest to today. That's exactly what happened. But I could actually see it. We've got the watch, so I was sort of real fight or flight, really panic mode. Walking straight up a hill and just took control of the nasal breath, and I could literally watch it drop 20 beats per minute in 10 seconds.
Yeah,
and it definitely felt a lot better straight after. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's good. But the hardest thing, and you'll contest this, the hardest thing people find with nasal breathing is that little ego. I normally do these at this speed. Why can't I do it now? I'm nasal breathing. I should be good at this. I'm an elite athlete. Yeah, but you breathe like crap.
Yeah.
And the hardest problem is because we do it so often, we believe we should be good at it.
Yeah.
And this is where I like to say, they say practice is perfect and stuff like that. Well, no, practice is permanent. And this is what people's breathing's been like. They've practiced never practiced their breathing, and now they've permanently got crappy breathing until they start practicing it properly.
Yeah.
And as Matty was saying about nasal stuff, one thing I find is when's the last time you actually looked at your nasal cavity and how to breathe with it, how to fix it? A lot of people just assume we can breathe, like we can assume we can run.
Yeah.
But work on running is like you do with your running style, shoes, equipment, stuff like that, and training. Your nasal passageways are the same, and you'd notice with your deviated septum. As you've worked on it, it's slowly sort of repairing itself as well because it's getting stimulation.
Yep, definitely. Tape in the mouth, mate. Below work.
Yeah, tape in the mouth. A nice, really easy one, and that everyone I find doing is literally actually just grabbing your nose and pulling it out and taking 5 deep breaths. And as you do, drag your fingers down. So start at the top here, pull out, and then drag it down.
Is everyone just pulling their nose at home? What has this turned into?
Yeah, everyone. That's it. But yeah, you watch. Do 5 pulls, and then you watch how much you can actually just by doing that.
I actually find my nose has because I never used to nasal breathe at all. It's permanently closed, so I actually have to actively open my nostrils and hold it open to breathe. Like I actually have to actively do that. And I'm hoping that eventually that will just, if I do it like, if I manually hold it open myself for long enough, it will just become the norm. Because I think it's just the muscles have gone to sleep and gotten really lazy.
Yeah, because just like how our fascia gets tight on our feet and everything and limits how much mobility we have out of them, doing that is the same thing. There's fascia under there, there's all the skin and stuff that can actually bind you down. So when you actually do that and spend some time with it, it's again it's like mobility for your nose.
Yeah. And Sharon said, lol, yep. Everyone's at home just digging in their nose and pulling it down. Your nose is red too, man. You've been surfing all week, haven't you?
Oh yeah, 2 a day every week.
It's good. Life's good. Somebody said, gotta love a Spartan mile. Jimmy Bullard says, only time I can't nasal breathe is while diving. And Corey says, live, we'll catch the replay later once it's finished. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what Jim said, that's true. It's the diving can be helped. And again, unless you're not spending 24/7 in the water, so it's not that much of stress. Mouth breathing is not a negative thing. It just shouldn't be our default thing.
Yeah.
It's like being able to back squat. You should be able to back squat flat-footed. You shouldn't always need lifters.
Yeah.
Even if that means you've got to shorten your range a bit, you should be squatting flat-footed, even to a box, and not always needing your lifters to do it. If you do, you'll lose the skill, and that's same breathing.
Yeah. If you use them all the time, they become a crutch, right?
Absolutely. Or as I like to call them, lifters manhills.
Take your shoes off. I don't own a pair of lifters, which is surprising because of my posterior chain mobility is not excellent. But I tend to just work out with no shoes or Five Fingers or Vivos or Morels.
I've been seeing you rock the Vivos. It's been good.
Yeah, I'm loving them. So breath. So we've sort of worked out why we do it, or I guess why the anatomy's there and does. What's next?
Well, basically, you need to know how to use it. You've got it all there. How do I know when's a good time? And this is where you need to practice breathing, as in different. Everyone thinks of breathing as a simple, it's an in and out. But depending on how you breathe can actually change the effect you want out of it. So, for example, we were talking about the superventilation to heat yourself up, the power breathing, and that excites you. That gets that because it's such a violent stimulation through the body. That's going to get yourself going. But when I get people to do stretching, I do what's called a PNF breath. Now, this is where we start playing with different ways. So, the PNF breath, basically, you take a nice deep breath in, you hold your breath and hit the position. So, you press against the position. So, let's say we're doing a hamstring stretch, and that we actually activate the hamstring while we're stretching for a count of 4, and then we slow the exhale as we release. Now, when you nasally exhale slowly, this is that big release part. Because we're slowly doing it, we're not violently doing it, it's actually sending a different stimulation. It's like the difference between a massage therapist doing a nice little smooth relaxation rub, or they're getting the elbow in and trying to release some muscles.
Yeah.
Okay. The different way you activate it will cause the different effect. And this is why it's good to have both. A good little protocol I get a lot of people to do to help with the sleeping is basically you do a 4 in, hold for count of 2, and exhale for 8. So what that means is just a count. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that sort of stuff. That actually helps you down-regulate, desensitize, and makes it a lot easier to fall asleep, or especially if you're trying to get that quick little nap in.
Because it's just going to take you into rest and digest, right? So it's coming out of that parasympathetic nervous system, coming out of that fight or flight, going into rest and digest, letting your body know that it's time to settle.
Yeah, and that's perfect what you were saying. Fight and flight, rest and digest. This is what the breath does. And by using your breathing, you will impact the quality of how you do certain things. So I was going to talk about trying to sleep. This is a great way for rest and digest to sleep. It's also a great way to take up nutrition. A lot of people think, oh, I'll just eat on the go and stuff like that. But they're like, okay, I'm eating all my healthy food. I'm not seeing any change on the scales or body composition. Why the hell that is because your body is still stressed. And when it comes to nutrition, your body is like a, okay, your body's like a male. We can't do two things at once. Okay? Your body wants to digest the food. It doesn't want to think it's got to be running through the bushes. But because you're sipping down a protein shake, going through traffic, on your phone, getting stimulated and triggered by something else posted up, or if you if you do like leaderboards and stuff like that, someone beat your score on something or whatever, you're triggered, you're heightened. So your body's telling you, we don't have time to digest this. Let's just take what we need and that, because it'll still process some of it, but not all of it. The rest just sits there and then eventually gets thrown on as fat. And it's like, I'm going to come back to that later. Let's just get what we need. Let's take the top off and hold on to the rest.
Yeah.
But when you actually can focus on your breathing, you can actually absorb more. And your absorption rate goes, oh, wait, this is great. We're not in a stressful environment. Nothing is going to kill us.
Yeah.
Let's take some of this, enjoy it, and relax. And then let's finish all of it. Let's go through all of it. And then you'll find, oh, wait, I'm not as hungry because I'm actually digesting all my food. I don't have that feeling in my gut. But on the other note, there's sometimes you've got to crank it up. So this is where that violent stimulation, superventilation comes in.
Yeah.
That can be like, I've sometimes done it with me coffee when I really have a nice big workout, and then I need that extra little kick up to get myself ready for a workout, because that's how you can upregulate, get that body to think, okay, we're in fight and flight, but we're not in a extreme fight and flight either. It's just enough to get us fired up, let the body know, okay, something's going to go down, let's get ready for it. But it's not in that, oh my God, panic, rip my hair out, freaking out. When you go that point, you've gone too far. But it's really hard to go that point when you're nasal breathing, because again, as you saw in what we showed before, all the things up there still have a way of keeping our central nervous system not completely jacked up. It's like a controlled fight and flight instead of a responsive fight and flight.
Cool. So your breath sort of acts as your body's gears, I guess. So you can use your breath to control your body, the state that you want your body to be in at any given time. If you want to upregulate, you can do that through the breath. If you want to downregulate, if you want to calm down, you can do that through the breath as well. And this is something that anyone can actively do at any time, yeah?
Yeah. You can even use it, so if we're talking Spartan racing, they've got the ultra coming up, okay? So when you're going for your ultra runs and stuff like that, and you need some fuel on the outside, you're going to need fuel. Unless you're doing it at the speed that the virtual people are doing it, you're going to need fuel.
Questionable.
But yeah, so the way you uptake that fuel, if you're constantly just blur and smashing while you're in a heightened run state, you're not going to absorb as much. So you're going to need like a lot more gels.
Yeah.
But if you're able to use your nasal breathing to be like, hey, okay, it's a bit of a flat, control my breathing, get into a recovery sort of run where you've still got a nice pace, but the gear systems you're not throwing it out in high gear, that can be a chance for you to take this time to, one, take on some nutrients, but it's also easier to take on nutrients because you're not mouth breathing. Let's face it, we've all done those gels and we're just like, oh, I can't breathe, because we've got the whole mouthful of gob.
They're pretty shit.
Nasal breathing, I can smash them and it's just comfort consuming that while I'm still breathing, there's no issue because I'm not longer trying to get air through here.
Yeah.
And this is where it can help make you more efficient.
Yeah, cool. We've just got a comment from Andrew here. So last Sunday, completed 6Ks, run 100% nasal breathing. It forced me to slow down my pace and focus on my breath. I experienced clogged up sinuses at times. Question, have you used nasal strips or another product called a turbine? Also, have you tried having a mouthful of water on the run as a challenge? First thing, these nasal strips that Mike gave me a while back, and I always forget to go and get them out of my drawer, but I'm going to put one on now because they're pretty cool. So they're basically like a nasal strip that you can sort of use to pull your nose down. That opens my nose, and then I can sort of put that tape there, and that'll lock it there. And I'm going to put one on because some people watching may have never seen or heard of a nasal strip.
Yeah, mostly people associate them for like snoring and problems with sleeping.
Sleep apnea and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. So now my nose is like so clear and open.
Yeah.
Amazing. So if I was going to say tape my mouth overnight, I don't know if I want to leave that on there because I can see it. If I was going to tape my mouth overnight, I would probably also put one of these on just to give my nose a bit of assistance to stay open. But if you're just getting started with nasal breathing, and if you don't use the hardware that's there, if you don't use it, you lose it. So more mouth breathing begets more mouth breathing. But the more you nasal breathe, so as I've started to nasal breathe more and more, it's getting easier and easier as the muscles develop more and the pathways open up more. So when you're just getting started, it might be painful. Like you just sit there and you can't get your breath in. So you might need help like a nasal strip. You might need to do that exercise where you sort of, turning the muscles on. So these might be a good place to start. So thank you for those, Mick.
Yeah, well, they're great to have anyway because, like, when you put the strip on, it's now in the forefront because you can feel it right there. You're like, oh, there's something on my nose. Oh, I'm breathing from my nose.
Yeah. It sort of gives you a bit of a reminder.
Yeah. It's why, like, when we get people to do like the hurricane heats, we get them to do those water challenges. The reason the water challenge is so hard when your mouth is full of water isn't just because of the breathing. It's because now you're thinking, I've got water in my mouth. I can't breathe through my mouth. Oh, my God. You start freaking out.
I love Chimera. So that's that exercise where you fill your mouth with water and you then have to we do it at like workout tours all the time when we get people to fill their mouth and then run around a tree and come back and then spit the water on the ground.
Yep.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. But that's the thing. The reason that it's the water itself's not bad at all. You can easily drink it and stuff like that. But because it's sitting there, you're now thinking, water's in my mouth, I cannot breathe. And that's where if you don't – this is where – well, for me, I sort of have this is where I get a little fun out of being one of the cryptarians for it because I get to see the people who have actually been listening to the stuff I've been putting out there and practice their nasal stuff. Like as you guys and Nobron, you had fun with that, but there were so many people that were like almost losing their shit.
Yeah.
And that because they were just thinking, oh, I cannot breathe. I need to breathe my mouth. No.
Yeah.
You've got this thing on your thing. It's not just for holding the glasses up.
Yeah.
And
Did you see during the Spartan Unbreakable, they got us to Joe got us to do the burpees?
Yep.
So we were doing we had to do like an EMOM. So every minute, I think he started us with 10. So he's like, all right, you've got water, fill your mouth up with water. Now you've got a minute to do 10 burpees. And then spit your water out, refill. The next minute we did 11 burpees. The next minute we did 12 burpees. The next minute we did 14, just with our mouths full, and it was fucking torture. But yeah, I've certainly been at workout tours and that hurricane heat there with you, and some people just can't. They can't do it at all.
Yeah, and it's because they're not open to the idea of it. And that I've had people with one blocked sinus that have been able to do it because they've taken the time to do it, but. Yeah. We automatically think if we're not breathing through our mouth, this is where the human mind breaks down through breath because we freak out thinking, oh, my God, I cannot breathe.
Yeah.
Like if you actually, and this is the funny thing, so I've been experimenting with oxymeters and stuff like that on my finger and seeing how I can actually play with my oxygen on my cellular level, on my blood saturation level.
Yeah.
It took me 3.5 minutes of holding my breath on an exhale before I even saw the dial move once.
Yeah.
So 3.5 minutes, whereas people freak out for trying to breathe through their nose in like 10 seconds. Your body's got so much oxygen in it, in the blood, and before it really affects you, you'll be surprised how much you can get away without breathing.
Have you got an oxygen sensor? so it senses how much oxygen's in your blood. That'd be cool. Mate, next time we catch up, bring it with you.
Absolutely.
I'll have to play with that. Have you heard of this turbine that the product he said? So have you used nasal called turbine? I haven't heard of it.
No. I think that's. Let me just quickly check if I'm sure, but
I'm pretty sure that he's asked another question, so I'm just going to have a look at that while you Google.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Andrew said, I also noticed on the run where I didn't even notice my pace or breath. It felt like I was in the zone effortlessly, temporarily. I think that's the ultimate goal. Always, man. If you can get into that fucking flow state, that's where the magic happens. It's where the best performance happens. That's where, everything is about trying to get into that flow. And it's very hard to get into that flow state when you train sometimes. About the only time I really get it is when I'm on like technical trails, where I've sort of got to really concentrate on where my feet are going. I can go into flow really easily. But if I'm like running on the road, no way in fuck, because I'm just thinking my knees hurt. I hate running on the road. What's that shit that I got to do tomorrow? Yeah. But when I'm on a technical trail, it works really well. Yeah. He just said I
found it.
Product bar rhino, man.
One of those. I'm not a fan of those ones because they're all about putting something up your nose to expand it, which again is like, you know, if you've already got a hole, putting something to just expand it a little bit, it's still taking up precious space.
Let's have a look. I'm gonna bring it up.
Yeah. Sure.
The turbine. I think I can share screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a nasal plug thing that you stick in your nose.
Yeah, but you stick it up your nose and it actually pushes out on the inside.
Okay.
Again, I'm not a fan of that because you're working from the inside out rather than trying to fix the surface that is actually putting the muscles on the outside.
I think we have the hardware too. Like we've got all the hardware there. It's fucking amazing. Like this evolution is incredible. We don't need a product to hold it open. We need to teach our fucking muscles to work to do that, to hold it open. And anywhere where you're just using a crutch, you know, you're staying with the lifting shoes. If you use lifting shoes all the time, you're going to end up with mobility problems. You should train most of the time without lifting shoes, and then if you're in like CrossFit competition where you want to really push heavy load, that's when you're going to put the lifters on.
Yeah, but again, it comes down to it's easier to give a product that's going to make an instant change. Like, I mean, I coach a lot of people through breath work and everything like that. And it's a good 4 to 8 weeks, but you'll be able, it's the hardware you learn and you have. Then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
often fixing your shit is a longer road, right?
Yeah, if I give you that, longer was better, but let's face it, for most of these people, they want to just go, oh, here you go, take this, now your problem solved. Walk around with something up your nose the rest of your life.
Yeah, fuck that.
If you're going to get something up your nose, just get the piercing done or something like that, just go for that. But I don't want to stick anything other from that side of my nose.
Up the nose and up it goes, mate.
Yeah.
Gary's here. Hi, Michael. Hi. I just said Matt and Michael at the same time. Michael. Hi, Matt. Hi, Matt. Hi, Michael. How you going? He's you're out doing some running today, I believe. Training for the 100K coming up. Hopefully that's going well.
Is he? Oh, good on him.
I believe so. I can't remember the name of the race. I was talking to him about it the other day. So cool. we were talking. We went off on a few little tangents there. We were talking about how people can upregulate and downregulate. How would one do that? Have we got a couple of examples? All
right. So the quickest way is going to be for the upregulate is what we call that ventilation, that power breathing. Now that one's really cool because you can set rep ranges, and just like warming up, you don't want to go straight into a max hard out. So using the Wim Hof method, I like how he does you do 30 of them. First 10 is easy, second 10 is a little faster, last 10 is fast, and stuff like that. Just like if you were to go for a run, you're not going to suddenly go, okay, boots are on, ready, bang, sprint.
Yeah.
Because then we've got a hammy issue. And that, if you're running properly anyway. But yeah. So what you can do is just nice, simple, 30 reps, just going first easy, just first 10 is that speed. Next 10 can be.
So you're about a second in, a second out.
Yeah.
That's about the tempo of it.
Yep. Cool. And then the third 10, go for gold. Cool. That. Take a nice, on the last one, take a big exhale, hold the exhale for a little bit to reset, and go again. Do that a couple rounds of that. That is really going to elevate you. That's going to get you pumped up, ready to go. I use it for a lot of my clients and a lot of my own training, and that's to warm myself up, get all that ready, so I'm mentally, physically ready.
From a physiological, game mode, right?
Yeah, basically that's your game mode. Now, for the down regulating, your best one is literally the 4-4-8.
Yeah, like the box breathing.
One.
So I do when I do. Sorry, man.
Yeah, not the box breathing, because the box breathing is a 4-4-4-4. This is literally a 4-4. The box breathing is great in a way of if you're in the middle of a race. So if you're running and you want to take on some nutrition, go to a box breathing to down regulate. But if you've like just finished, you really want to bring yourself down quickly so you can recover faster. Basically, you get actually it's even easier than this. All you do is nice deep breath in. So in for 4, out for 4. In for 4, out for 4. You do that 2 times, then you extend the exhale. If you can get it up to 10 to 15 on the exhale, you will find your heart rate will be under 100 beats.
Yeah. When we do like my yoga, often in my client group and on Sundays in the Fit Fam group, we do sort of a bit of a variation of box breathing. So, and I do it at the start of the class, but I sort of get them in slowly and basically extend those exhales. So I go in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 5, hold for 4. So we basically go 4-4-4, but we add a second onto that exhale every time, and we go through it for about 3 or 4 minutes, and you end up exhaling for like 10 seconds on the last one. But it's just a really good way to take like a couple of minutes it just chills you the fuck out.
Yeah, but it doesn't put you too low, because the reason for that is you've got that exhale at hold, which is basically now building CO2 tolerance, which is sort of giving you that fight and flight response, but not in a dramatic way. Well, actually, that's a good practice what you're doing, because it's really building your stress levels in a calm manner.
Yeah. So if you want to, if the goal is really to relax, you wouldn't want to extend that hold after the exhalation. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
You want to go straight back into a nice, maybe a 2 count hold. But no more than that, you really want to get back into that breath and just let that exhale right out.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, you can go up to, like, I've even done exhales where I'll get to the point I'm doing it to a minute on the exhale and stuff like that. And it's it's good control. It's a good skill as well. And it does transfer over to a lot of stress management.
Yeah, definitely. How often should people be doing this breath work?
Well, I like to say daily, because, we breathe daily. But ideally, if you're doing 2 to 3 times a week, or you're doing some actual breath practice 2 or 3 times a week, that's great. Like the simplest one I always get everyone to do is box breathing for 5 minutes. That is a good daily, easy one to do, and you will find it'll change. With specific ones, you can go, certain techniques and certain practices will get you to do it 3-4 times, depending on the programs as well and what you're training it for. The thing with breath practice is we're now tapping into levels where it's not just your ability to take in oxygen, it's also your ability to handle the carbon dioxide that's being produced by your body when your muscles are firing. Yeah. This is especially with, like, I've been doing a lot of work with this now with free divers and surfers. Yeah. Because especially with the surfing side, when you get held under a wave, you might not be able to get that chance to get yourself calm. You just got thrown off a wave, and next 2 more are coming and hold you under. So you've got to be able to swim, move while holding your breath. And that's where the whole CO2 side can come into.
Because your body's throwing CO2 off as a byproduct, your muscles. as they use the oxygen.
Yes. I mean, there's a book called What Doesn't Kill Us, and he's just I think it's Scott Cam, and he just brought out another one about the wedge. Now the wedge is what they talk about, trying to find that state of pushing the edge, and he was like on these breath training with Lard Hamilton about how they started using their carbon dioxide on an exhale underwater hold to actually extend the time they could do more exercise underwater.
There's a couple of big coaches over the years, like who've trained Olympic athletes and stuff, who swear by, breath hold training and training, doing freestyle for the whole length of the swimming pool without taking a breath, just to build that CO2 tolerance.
Oh yeah, and it's like you've got NBA players now that are searching out for Lard Hamilton, Brian McKenzie, and the Art of Breath, and all those guys and stuff like that.
Brian McKenzie, he's CrossFit Endurance, is he not?
Was CrossFit Endurance as ago. He's just basically Power Speed Endurance, or now it's Shift. Actually, they've changed the group's evolved to Shift. It's called now because they're all about shift in state.
Okay.
I mean, this thing is so good on understanding your state is when it's actually going to the point, like they actually did research with, I think it was Stanford, where they did shark diving and worked on their breathing with full face masks on to the point that they no longer had the cages and were swimming with the sharks. And when you breathe, understanding your breath mechanics and your state can actually impact what sort of energy field you're putting out there. And they found that sharks
react.
They didn't react to them when they started getting calm, control in their state, even when they moved around a lot and stuff like that, because their demeanor wasn't of fear-based, which again comes to understand how you do.
It's like the dog thing, right? If you're scared of dogs, they'll fucking bite you. If you tell them you're scared, like they can pick up on that shit. Super cool. Gary Barnett, 70 Ks in for his weekend. A couple of lazy Ks. I think this was his last big week of weekend of training, and then a bit of a taper off. Jim, have the same issues, Mick, when ocean swimming, heading out through the surf when it's bigger seas. Sometimes you're not going to get a chance to breath, and he's just said you need to not panic, but quite often have no time to go through all the techniques. So I guess the interesting thing there is if you train the techniques, you're always going to drop down to your lowest level of training, right? What's the fucking saying? Because I'll paraphrase the hell out. Do you know something about this regularly?
So it's what's always that? They said, you don't. It's a Navy SEAL thing. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the training.
Yeah.
And I mean, so Jim actually inspired me to go around this route with the understanding of it in the surf thing, because he did my breath program with me, where we worked on breathing capacity and energy efficiency on land-based, and he was always swimming and stuff like that. So that's where I took this research into going down into breath work and in the water and stuff as well, because the water adds a whole different element, even on the senses.
Yeah.
Just doing an ice bath, I found standing there holding my breath for an ice bath, shower, and then when I put my face under the shower, how much my mind would suddenly flick just because there's water over it and I could have a breath. So that was he actually helped me get this one started a lot more too. So I think of that.
Yeah, it's cool. So basically, and as you said there, Jim, it's hard to go through the technique when you are smashed with waves. But if you're going through the techniques when you're calm in training and you're building that CO2 tolerance, when you are in the situation where the waves are just smashing your body can just adapt to it a lot easier.
It does.
You've built that tolerance already. You've done the work. So when you're doing the performance, you perform better, right? Jim says,
so that's what I love. Yeah, I had I got the experience firsthand. Like, as you know, I was surfing for the last week, and I actually got held under for 3 waves because my leg rope wrapped around both my ankles.
Perfect.
And that because I was underwater. So, but the fun thing was, I got to see the coolest thing. I got to see the waves going over me as I was under the water. I was in there and I felt around and I was just like, I literally was just like, well, let's just sit here and hang out for a bit and see when I need to jump back up.
Yeah.
And then by the 3rd wave, my rope untangled. But what I got to see was beautiful. And again, it was because now I've been practicing all this stuff. And this has had so much more. it's the stress levels that it's brought for me through all my training as well, and understanding and helping other people. It's amazing how this translates, not just for the surf, but how much now when you find yourself in a very likely assault bike, a lot of people hate that because it suddenly throws them into a flight.
Yeah.
And because it's 100% output.
It's a fucking devil machine, man.
Right.
That hate is well earned.
It's my favorite piece of equipment. I buy that before I buy a barbell set.
They're fucking evil. I do need to get one though.
Oh yeah.
I know my PT's got a workout that I know is just burpees and assault bike that he wants me to do, and he's been G'ing it up for like a week and a half. And I kept going, not today. And I know he's going to get me this week with it. Jim says, try also doing it in the shower and flicking onto the cold and see what happens.
Yeah, no, I do that already. It's the best thing.
You got me into cold showers, cold plunging in the shower. Shit's rough.
Yeah, you've got to get into that.
It's rough. I'm getting in the cold pool, so I'll be in the cold pool, the cold plunge pool.
No, you wait till I come up. I'll be bringing my trough, and I'm going to really get you in some cold. That 10 degrees ain't cold.
It's like 6, man. It's fucking cold. It's cold.
Our showers are running at 3 at the moment.
Oh, man. Okay. So how would somebody implement this this breath work? How would somebody get started? Where does somebody, if this is the first they've ever learnt about breath today, what's the first step?
Start with the box breathing. It's the best thing to start with.
And the box breathing was, I'm going to type it in the comments.
So count of 4. Yeah, breathing for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4.
Okay.
That is literally 5 minutes of that a day and just getting comfortable breathing through your nose. That is your best thing ever to start with. After that,
it was just 4, 4, 4, 4.
Yeah, just 4, 4, 4, 4. It's a nice simple one. Count of 4. Don't watch a clock. Count it.
When I do it in my yoga, I usually sort of sync to the beat of the song, so it just changes wildly. Especially if we're doing the breathing and then the song changes, like the whole count can change.
Yeah. Start with that. Once you get comfortable with breathing, just doing 5, build it up to 10. If you can do 15 minutes of this stuff, you're golden. That's going to pay dividends. Then you can start looking at trying small exercises.
I think I just typed that right in the comment. So breathe in 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds. Repeat for 5 minutes. So that's going to be the best place to start.
That's your best place to start. After that, start walking with a mouthful of water, tape on your mouth, or if you put, I recommend the tape on your mouth.
Tape on your mouth.
You can put a mask over it if you really want to cover it up so you don't look like a weirdo.
But yeah, I'm gonna. Gives people a reason to wear a mask so they can't see the
tape in the mouth is a lot better. I find it's a lot more comfortable for some people to start with rather than the water in there.
Yeah,
because it's locked up. Your mouth's locked up. It's like you're forced into that position.
Yeah.
Once you're done that, then you can start going to water in the mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the best ways to start with it.
I'm going to show people too, when you tape your mouth, don't go like a big piece, especially if you have a beard, because it sucks. So you only need like a little piece just over your lips.
Yep.
And if you leave like a little hole, you can still talk.
Well, you can literally even just go downwards.
Oh, yeah. But
so it'll flip it straight down. If you flip it straight down, you can still get the sides of your mouth if you're not 100% comfortable with it just yet.
Yeah. I think for me, that's too easy for me to still breathe through my mouth. With that, I can still talk a bit.
Yeah.
So if I have to, I can still talk. I could probably like drink through a straw. But I've been doing it like I just sit here at work when I'm in the office here, and I'll just put tape on for an hour, and It's really, really cool. But I've been meaning to for a long time. I'm gonna put one of these nasal strips on tonight, and I'm gonna tape my mouth, and I'm gonna sleep with it, and I'll let you guys all know how it goes.
Yeah, but that's the best way to start. Is those are your best ones, I reckon.
And then Jim says just after a while, try doing it without anything over your mouth, self-control. Definitely. Yeah. That's ideally where you want to get to, right? But you've got to undo the fucking years and years and years of doing it the wrong way. So for me, I've been a mouth breather for a long time, so I need those little aids to help. But ultimately, anything you use as an aid you should be getting away from, like the lifting shoes, like the fucking nose plugs things. Like, they help you, but eventually you want to get your body doing what it's naturally supposed to do. You don't want to use things as crutches.
Yeah. Think of them as accessories. Accessories are supposed to assist, but they're not supposed to be all of it.
Yeah. And when I take my mouth, Dom gets peace and quiet. So everyone's happy. So, man, we've covered a lot on breath today. Maybe some of these guys haven't heard this stuff before. Is there anything else that you think is super important that we include in this one? Because we've been going for just over an hour.
Mate, there's tons we could talk about, but I like to leave it just there. Breath is something, you've got to be humble with it. Start easy and build yourself up. And I think of it like a 7-course buffet. You don't eat everything at once. You take a meal at a time, and then by the end, you're full. Same with breathing. Do a bit at a time. Focus on it. Slowly develop it. Long run will be a lot better for you.
Yeah, definitely. Jim said after a while, you don't even need to concentrate on it. You just nose breathe naturally. Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah, I've found just in the last couple of weeks and months that it's just naturally happening now. I'm just like, and I had this chat with you, Mick, at the Bright Ultra last year, and you sort of taught me all this theory, but I didn't go away in action, and it was all just rattling around in my head. And then this year I started to get, proper serious about it. And once I started taking action, that's when I'm seeing the results. So, knowledge is power, guys, but if you don't do anything with it, it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
So you got to action. Yeah. So anything else you want to add, Nick, or want to wrap it up?
I'm happy with all that. I mean, as I said, if you guys have got any more questions, please talk to at least one of us.
Definitely, guys. If you're after any more info, or you've got, say, a certain scenario and you want to know how to action this that you've learned today, but you're not sure how to put it together, just comment yes, and one of us will message you direct afterwards, and we'll help you apply this to your lives, because everyone is in a different situation, and you might need to apply things slightly differently. So just comment yes, and we'll be in touch. And that's whether you're on live or whether you are watching a replay, we will go through. But thanks again for your time today, Mick. That's 2 in a row you've taken, mate. So I'm gonna have to think of something that I can talk about for a while.
That's good. I love it. I mean, that's why I do this stuff. I love to share.
Yeah, mate. That's why we're doing this. So, guys, this is a new project. This Harder to Kill. This is 2 weeks in. We are going to try and bring you guys info every week, teaching you guys how to become harder to kill, and we're going to take all sorts of different topics. So we definitely do want your feedback. Let us know if it's good. Let us know if it's bad. Let us know what we could do better. Let us know what you would like to learn, and share the love around. Share this around. Share the video. Tell your friends. The more people turn up, the more resources this type of project gets, so the more production value, and basically the better it gets. So share it around, guys, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day. See you, Mika.
See you, mate.